Well, hi there, homies. This is Sarah.
And I'm Ashley, and this is Hometown Homicide.
Upgraded edition, hopefully.
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Hi.
Hi. We are a little late this week,
But
we are here.
we are here.
And we have new equipment. So this should sound so much better. So
And-
for everyone who bared with us, we thank you and appreciate you. But we're here, and I'm so excited.
And both mics should work appropriately now.
We dropped some
Holler.
coin.
Not a ton, but good basics.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been a journey. And also, we're delayed because I'm an asshat and get my ass kicked at work all the time. Plus, thinking it won't take me that long to type up reports, and then I get into too many details, and then it takes me forever. So that's my bad too.
It's all good. You can't control when it comes to your job.
Yeah, I know. But
We are here.
we won't skip an episode. We just are delayed. Sorry. Ash has some shout-outs.
Yes. So just wanted to give a quick shout out to the great podcast community that we have over on the Twitter. And for everyone who is currently in the top 10 for true crime on Good Pods,
What?
Drunk Theory is still at number 1. They're hilarious. If you have not listened to them, please listen to Drunk Theory. We also have How to Spot a Killer.
How to Spot a Killer.
Awesome. Love you, girl. Also, I sent you a link. How to Spot a Killer was a guest on the podcast 8750, the episode A Bag of Kinks. Holy shit. If you have not listened to that, you need to. I laughed so fucking hard. It was amazing. And just literally, I feel like I know her so much better just from listening to that. And not just because, like, she's a great, like, I feel like she's a friend now. She has to be. I mean, just from Twitter.
Yeah.
And everything else. But
Yeah.
you have to listen to 8750 podcast, Bag of Kinks, because it was hilarious.
Yes, I will try to do that this week now that it's your turn to do a research. And I have spare time after I'm off work this week.
And we also have Sarah's birthday coming up.
Oh, yes, actually, Ashley's next episode that will come out next Monday will be out on my birthday.
Yes.
Because I was thinking, I'm like, oh my God, my episode will be on my birthday. I'm like, wait, no, there's a whole nother week in between.
I mean, if you want to do another one.
No, I just said I need. Damn it! Ugh. But I do need to do 2 supplement. Well, not. I need to do the supplemental episode about Bob Dale. That's been a rigmarole. I'm hopefully going to talk to the ex-wife, or not ex-wife, the wife. Tomorrow. Again, because she wants to talk again. And then I can finally get all my things together and do a supplemental episode about his disappearance. But
People have been waiting for that.
I know. I feel bad. And I'm like, no, I'm doing it. I promise. And then, well, then I had COVID, so then whatever. And then she didn't get back to me. And then I got my ass kicked, and then I didn't get back to her. So it's been a whole thing. So it is the plan. So
Well, we're all waiting for that.
I-
I can't wait.
any other... Oh, what we talked about last week. The Super Bowl and the halftime show.
Oh, yes.
Super
Yes.
Bowl, at least it was a good game.
The commercials, what was your favorite commercial?
I mean, the Austin Powers one was pretty good. The what was it? Doritos one with the animals that ended up doing like the.
Yeah. They always have good ones.
Yeah, that was good. They knew their audience after the halftime show, that's for sure, because it was geared towards like our age of stuff. I don't know. There's some silly ones, and it's like social time and eating too. So I don't know why. What one is?
Well, the one that stuck out to me that grabbed my attention immediately was the Chevy commercial, the Silverado. It had nothing to do with the Silverado. What?
Was it the one with the Joneses?
No, that was Toyota.
I don't know. That one was cute.
It was cute.
Especially at the end when the Jonases are the new Jones. Tommy Lee Jones,
no.
Whoever you are.
We are talking about as soon as that Sopranos theme song started playing, I was like, what?
Yeah, I don't know.
And then Meadow was driving. And it was like the scene from the opening of The Sopranos. And then it was in front, like where it all ended, and then there was AJ, and I'm like, what is happening? You have to be a Sopranos fan. You have to have watched The Sopranos.
And I did not.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
So that was amazing.
If I saw that one, I had no idea what the fuck was going on.
And a lot of people didn't. And then I went to Facebook, and then someone was like, it's an electric truck. I go, I paid zero attention to the truck at all. It was all Sopranos for me. And they're like, oh, I've watched The Sopranos. I go, clearly you have not. You are not a fan. Get off my post.
I did see people saying something about that commercial.
And then, of course, I did the comeback of, tell me you haven't watched The Sopranos without telling me you haven't watched The Sopranos. And she did. So, sorry. Not sorry, but... Yeah. And then after that, after the halftime... I went over to HBO because, Euphoria was on and I wasn't missing that.
The one commercial I did appreciate it, even though it was lame, but it still got your attention. Was like that screensaver. It had the QR code screensaver thing, and of course we all ended up being like, "What's going on? What's happening?" Because of course it's like silent, or maybe he had some sort of elevator music. And we're like, "Oh, is it gonna hit the corner? Oh no! Oh, almost! Oh!" And then it finally did, and then it was for like Bitcoin bullshit or whatever. And it's like, oh, that was dumb, but it at least got your attention.
It did. And as soon as I saw that, the first thing I thought of was The Office.
I already knew where you were at. Oh, and then the halftime show was dope as fuck. I was so excited.
It was. I do have a complaint.
I was gonna say, that wasn't a wholehearted. Why? What? No Tupac? I know.
No. There was not enough time for Eminem.
There never is.
To do Forgot About Dre.
Yeah.
With Dr. Dre.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was waiting for that, and it was just like this small bit, and then it went into him, and I'm like, we need more time.
Yeah.
And it was awesome that they brought 50 Cent in, but he was not advertised as it. It was a surprise, but it took away time from Eminem that I was hoping for. Not dissing 50 in any way at all. I just felt like that took time away from Eminem's performance, which was amazing.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, I thought 50 looked I
didn't think he looked
great
bad at all.
I mean, he's not some 20-something anymore.
Neither
he doesn't
are we.
exactly have a dad bod, but he's a little more filled in. I thought he looked great.
The fact that people were even discussing his body weight, I'm like, really?
Annoying,
like, we're doing this?
Yeah. Man, Snoop, what I did not put together, I saw he was in a blue suit. I saw his suit was bandana, I almost said flavored, derp, print. What I didn't put together is his whole Crip affiliation, blue bandana for Crips. I guess the NFL told him he couldn't throw the C or do a Crip walk or wear a blue bandana. He still did do
and they also told Eminem he couldn't kneel, and he still did. Like
that is supposedly false. I guess he did that even in the rehearsals, and it was for Tupac. It wasn't even for the other stuff. It was for Tupac. There was a TikTok that got taken down, but there's still footage of it. I think it's on YouTube now. Snoop, like, covertly smoking weed. And I'm like, well, no, it's Snoop.
It's Snoop. Like, he's not gonna.
It is
and
what it
someone
is.
said it was posted on Facebook. how, and he's a comedian, he was literally joking, but in a screenshot, like, I can't believe he would do this. He just lost a fan. Like,
seriously?
He was a comedian. So
you did say that. Sorry.
He did it to get attention.
Got it. I'm
Like,
sorry.
really? If Snoop Dogg, you should expect that.
Yeah.
And if they did get together and do a tour,
oh my God,
like,
yes.
we're down, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. That'd be so good. Mary J was great. She looked great. She had great energy. And I just really could give a shit less about Kendrick Lamar. Nothing against him. It's just he's not
He
my
just wasn't,
flavor. It didn't match very well. Like 50 almost didn't match, but he also literally sang about Eminem in those lyrics that he sang. So like it still kind of all went together. But overall, it was great. Fabulous.
Yes.
Love it. Dre was back there acting like he was mixing stuff, and it was like all of it.
He looks
fabulous.
great.
He looks fantastic. It was just fun, and some of the memes after were just gold. Like, there was the Pawn Stars guy with a customer, and the customer was like, I want Tupac in the halftime show, and the Pawn Stars guy were like,
best we can do
is 50 Cent. Or yeah, I want a hologram of Tupac for the halftime show. Best I can do is an upside down 50 Cent.
They talked about it, though. They said they were... Sorry, I moved, cat. They said they were talking about doing a hologram of Tupac. Like, is it gonna be a hologram? Like, hours before the Super Bowl.
What I didn't even think about is it was in LA, yes. But also, at the time, it was so much more daylight there. Like, trying to do a hologram in daylight is going to be way more difficult than nighttime, if it was on East Coast or something. And I was like, oh, fuck yeah, it's like full-ass nighttime. Or nighttime, daytime. But, no, they made it all work, and it was fabulous.
It was great. But
yeah, it was a long, yappy introduction, but it was fun stuff to talk about. How to get it out there.
And we both have a microphone.
Ah, that works. Yay. This case took place in Marion, Iowa, or the main part of this case took place. Derp. In Marion, Iowa, on January 6, 2002. I'm going to tell you about 3 people and how the blending and crossing of their paths led to 2 of them brutally killing the 3rd. First, let me tell you about Brandy Byrd. Brandy had a rough childhood. She was living in California when at only 3 years old, her mother abandoned her. Her father, John Moore, took her in for a while, but apparently couldn't be all that she needed. So then she went to live with her grandmother for a bit. Brandy then bounced around a lot of foster families. She had stated that, quote, I've forgotten a lot of my childhood. She also told of how, as a child, she was often by herself and was a quiet kid, not talking much and holding things in. At some point, Brandy ended up in Indiana, where she learned and honestly excelled at basketball at Ben Davis Junior High and AAU in Indianapolis. She ended up moving to Richmond, Virginia, to once again live with her father, John, who at the time was a city bus driver. They ended up having a falling out during her senior year, though reasons behind the falling out vary per source. Her former basketball coach, Gene Atkins, from Henrico High School, Henrico, I'll go with Henrico High School. Sorry, in Richmond, I forgot to look up how to say that. Said that Brandy had gorgeous hair, but shaved it off, quote, to play the role, end quote, of a lesbian, leading her father to kick her out over her sexual orientation. Brandy herself said that he kicked her out because he was trying to raise an already grown child and asserting too much authority. She lived on the streets briefly, but her kind coach, Gene Atkins, took Brandy in to live with her and her own family for a month or so. Gene reportedly fully trusted Brandy, and at times even let Brandy babysit her 7-year-old grandson. Gene stated, she was very quiet. She just needed someone to give her a little love, a little attention. Her coach also said that Brandy could have possibly played for colleges like Purdue or Indiana. Brandy was described as aggressive on the basketball court, but no problem off. Gene Atkins said that one time a man in the gym made a derogatory comment about Brandy, to which Brandy didn't retaliate, but instead cried. Brandy said that people, including her father and coaches, told her that she kept too much inside, and if she didn't let her feelings out, she would, quote, explode.
Yeah. That's what happens.
Yep, pretty much.
Don't bottle that shit up.
No.
Let it out.
She wasn't a great student, but with guidance and encouragement from her coaches, she did get on track enough to graduate in the year 2000. And even had a scholarship, I'm assuming for basketball, to a junior college in Kansas City. Unfortunately, she got distracted by a girlfriend in Des Moines. While sitting in Lynn County Jail during an interview with the Gazette in 2002, Brandy said, "If I hadn't met up with her, I would be in college, living in a dorm, playing basketball." This wasn't her first time in jail, but most likely her last. Previously, she had been arrested out on the East Coast for something she claims her cousin did. It was cited as destroying an apartment. I don't know if just wrecked the inside or what. But she didn't rat him out, and she just took the rap for him, so she went to jail. She's not a snitch, apparently.
Snitches get stitches.
And
Remember
end up
that.
in ditches. She was also arrested multiple times in Marion, Iowa, for theft, underage possession of alcohol, possession of marijuana, drug paraphernalia, and had been cited for loud music multiple times, as well as having a disorderly house.
Mm-hmm. Marion PD does not fuck around.
They do not.
You can be going 1 mile per hour over the speed limit, and they will pull you over and give you a ticket.
That's not even a joke, guys. That's real.
Not joking.
That's real.
I mean, no hate to the Marion PD. So.
No, all the respect, but there's no flexibility in the law for them. Her arrests and complaints, at least the ones in Marion, were never violent or dangerous in any manner. Brandy failed to appear in court on the disorderly house charge, which resulted in an arrest warrant being issued.
For that?
Because she failed to appear in court. You gotta show up for court, man.
I get that.
She was actually arrested on January 5th, 2002 because of that warrant, and released the next morning on January 6th after appearing in arraignment court and receiving a fine. Remember at the beginning I said this case takes place on January 6th, 2002. So she got out of jail that morning.
Okay.
Over something very innocuous, missing a court date. Now, player 2. Let's talk about David Keegan. David, or sometimes mentioned as DJ, but I'm going to go with David, also had a rough upbringing. His twin sister, Destiny Wright, said that they were abused by their biological mother and that she, the mother, had mental and substance abuse issues. The two children were beaten regularly and even left in a ditch once.
What?
Right? Like the fuck. David and Destiny went to live with their father and stepmother, but the father fell ill, leaving them more so in the hands of their stepmother, whom apparently also abused the children. At some point fairly early in the childhood, David and his sister were put into foster care. David was adopted by a woman named Penny Keegan when he was only 7. So all that shit happened to them before they were even 7 years old.
Wow.
Right. Unfortunately, things didn't seem to improve for David. His sister stated later at his trial that his adoptive mother, Penny, was a, quote, disgusting person, and that Penny performed sex acts in front of him. Yeah, I don't know.
So the twin sister didn't go with him?
No,
and
they got split up. Yeah. Which would be hard, too.
For sure. It's your twin.
Yeah.
I don't have a twin, but I think you have a
siblings
stronger
is bad enough
connection.
to split, but yeah, twins would be even harder on him, I'd think. During his trial, Penny herself said that, quote, "I love that kid with all my heart," and that she tried for years to get behavioral treatment for her son. David was only 12 when first introduced to the juvenile system after hitting his adoptive mother, Penny. In middle school / junior high, he regrettably got teased and made fun of. Kids can be assholes. Well, not excusing them, but it was never too severe of, teasing. There wasn't, stealing his lunch money or giving him swirlies in the boys' room, bathroom, or beating him up. David typically just took the teasing, sometimes talking back, but that was it. Until one time in 7th or 8th grade, in class, the normal teacher that should have been there was out sick, so there was a substitute, and they were basically just using the time as a study hall or to read. Towards the back of the classroom, a few boys were quietly, verbally jabbing at David, unnoticed by the substitute teacher. That day, David decided he had enough and started wailing on one of his classmates. Oddly, the students remained silent while other classmates were trying to pry David away from the boy. Of course, this is when the substitute teacher looked up and thought they were trying to harm David, when in reality they were trying to get him to stop. So the teacher ordered them to let him go. Immediately, David went back to smacking the boy in the face. Then the teacher understood what was going on and got them to split up. David was lanky and kind of scrawny at the time, so the damage to his classmate was not severe, but he did chip the boy's tooth. I believe he got suspended or something of the sort. That or Penny and David just decided to move him to a different school, maybe both, but they did move him eventually to Marion High School. At one point, he did have hopes of attending Kirkwood Community College and then the University of Iowa to major in psychology.
Would have been a great path. Great school.
Yep. By the time he was a senior, he was living on his own under a program called Alternative Services Supervised Independent Living Program, which I had never heard of before and is a hell of a mouthful. This program has a curfew for its teens and supervises them on a case-by-case basis. Teens enrolled had rules to follow, including no drugs, no alcohol, get a job, go to school, and have no physical aggression. His mother, Penny, even said that he was in a downward spiral of drug use and alcohol use, though. So I don't know how supervised he really was. At one point, he got busted for trespassing as he used a credit card to slip someone's lock on their apartment door.
Oh, okay.
But that was, I believe that was dismissed. In late December of 2001, Penny wrote to a Lynn County Juvenile Court judge citing his behavior and suggesting he be placed under a stricter program, and also pleaded with a DHS social worker to get more help from him. And it is incredibly sad that no one listened. Somehow, Brandy and David became friends. There was no record I could find on how that happened. I mean, she wasn't in school, so obviously they didn't have class together. I don't believe they worked together, as she worked at Burger King, it said, and it never listed where David was actually working. It could have just been through mutual friends, especially with maybe the drug scene or something. Regardless, the two of them blending paths was probably the worst thing that could have happened for each of them, and certainly was the worst thing for Greg Wells.
Thank you so much for listening to our show. If you like what you're hearing, please make sure to rate our show on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Good Pods. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Hometown Homicide Podcast, Twitter at Ope Murder, and our website at hometownhomicide.com.
On the night of January 6, 2002, 20-year-old Brandy and 17-year-old David came up with a plan. A plan that was even told to Brandy's girlfriend, who was 13, by the way.
Okay, so Brandy just got out of jail.
Yeah.
And her girlfriend that brought her to Iowa,
I'm not sure if it's the same girlfriend or not.
She's 13.
She's 13.
And Brandy would have been in college, correct?
I mean, old enough. I mean, she's 20, so she's old enough to be in college.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay. That's
incredibly inappropriate.
And she should have been in jail for that?
I mean, yeah. But told to Brandy's girlfriend and a couple of other friends ahead of time, as the friends later testified to this. Brandy and David were with said friends when they called the local Marion Pizza Hut at 9:14 p.m. to have a pizza delivered to David's apartment at 875 26th Street, then left the friends to get ready for the unsuspecting delivery man. When they got to David's apartment, Brandy grabbed a claw hammer and hid in the closet near the apartment door. 31-year-old Greg Wells was unfortunately the typical night delivery man for this Pizza Hut, so off he went to deliver their order. David's role was to get Greg into the apartment, and Brandy's was to attack him. Their goal was to rob him and steal his car. and then flee the city with Brandy's girlfriend. When Greg showed up with their pizza, David and Brandy both did their, quote, jobs. David getting Greg inside the apartment, and Brandy popping out of the closet and attacking Greg with a hammer. She struck him 10 to 12 times in the head and face with the hammer, fracturing his skull in multiple places. He went down, but he wasn't dead.
All for what, like $50? I'm assuming.
Not even, actually. The pair tried to then smother Greg with a pillow for a bit, and then David supposedly tried to break Greg's neck, but couldn't because there was so much blood, he couldn't get a grip. Also, David was like 100 pounds soaking wet. With none of that yielding the result they wanted, David then got a serrated knife from a kitchen drawer and slit Greg's throat, severing the jugular. Death was not immediate, but came in minutes. Brandy ditched the hammer in the closet, and then they possibly packed a few things because there was blood found on light switches and other locations in the apartment. So for whatever reason, they used one of the windows as a door going in and out, threw it on the regular.
Because that's not more...
Suffering fuck a cat.
Fuck.
Yeah, it's fucking weird though. I mean, it'd be one thing if it was like a sliding door and you didn't have to like use your front door because, like, if you're on the ground level, you know, like whatever. But why are you crawling out through a window?
Right.
It's fucking weird. This is how they exited with all of maybe $20 that Greg had. I forgot to put it in my thing, but I did read it somewhere that Pizza Hut, like their policy is the delivery people don't carry more than like $20 or so cash on them.
I was going to say they probably keep after each delivery.
Yeah,
Keep the money there.
So it's not, a robbery opportunity. But they took maybe $20 cash, Greg's wallet, and after tossing the knife in the parking lot, got into Greg's vehicle. Obviously, this is all horrific and fucked up, but luckily for the justice for Greg's car, which was a 1988 Buick, wasn't in too great of shape. He made do with what he had, and it worked for him. But according to coworkers, it was a jalopy and held together by, quote, a lot of work and good intentions.
Oh.
It had no dashboard, and he had to hotwire it to start.
Oh, no.
So the car broke down 5 blocks from David's apartment.
They did not make it
They
far.
did not make it very far. David and Brandy then called the friends that they were with, her girlfriend and the other two, to come pick them up, which they did by driving a yellow Cadillac. Now, a yellow Caddy is pretty conspicuous. David's neighbors had seen this same car multiple times parked at the apartment building in the spot reserved for David's unit. Keep that in mind, because that will come back later. Back at the Pizza Hut, Greg's shift supervisor, Katrina Burkholder, clearly noticed when he didn't return and also started receiving calls around 11 p.m. from other customers complaining that their pizza never arrived. He was apparently to deliver more pizzas than just David's on his trip. She then called a friend who was also a former Pizza Hut employee. They agreed Greg's car probably broke down in transit. She tried calling the number that placed the order at David's apartment to check if Greg had at least made it that far, but got no answer. A worried Katrina called the police, and they sent an officer to drive the route he would have taken, looking for him. Katrina and the friend she called also decided to go searching for Greg. When they got to David's apartment building, what they found was ominous. First, they saw Greg Wells's Pizza Hut hat in the parking lot. He apparently always wore the hat while he was working, and Katrina and the friend then called the police again. When police arrived, they tried knocking on the apartment door but got no answer. They did discover that the door was unlocked, but recognized that at that moment they had no probable cause to enter. The police then walked around the side of the building and found Greg's pizza warmer box on the ground. And then upon further searching, they saw a window cracked with the curtains hanging out, being the window that they left from. And it appeared to have blood on the curtains.
I was going to say, there's probably blood, because I'm sure they have blood on them.
Yes, so that was it. Police then entered the apartment and found Greg Wells' body laying on the floor, face down on blood-soaked carpet in the living room. There was blood on the walls, a light switch, the refrigerator, curtains, and on and in a kitchen drawer. So obviously when he opened it, and they found no one home except a cat locked in the bathroom. And they were going to fucking, like, skip town.
And leave this
at least
cat
they didn't
to
kill the
starve?
cat, but assholes. Police officers talked to other tenants in the building, and some reported that a yellow Cadillac was often seen in David's parking spot. Thanks to these neighbors, the police were swiftly on the lookout for a yellow caddy. And wouldn't you know it, it was spotted at the Excel Inn on 33rd Avenue Southwest, which I'm assuming turned into Clarion, which turned into the, what is it now, Ramada?
I'm like trying to picture where on 33rd Avenue.
By
But
Perkins
McDonald's?
and... No, I'm thinking the next block closer to 380.
Okay, by the Mexican.
Yeah, like
Okay.
back in there.
Okay, so they went from Marion to a hotel
On the southwest side of town.
southwest side of Cedar Rapids. Okay.
Yeah. David, Brandy, and the 3 friends that picked them up were indeed found in one of the hotel rooms. There was blood on a bandana and a washcloth in the room with them, which clearly turned out to be Greg's blood, as well as blood from David. So he must have cut himself while using the knife.
In the moment, yeah.
Yeah.
Being a
Asshat.
horrible human being.
So at 6 a.m., January 7th, 2002, David and Brandy were taken into custody. Their stories changed multiple times over different interviews, sometimes putting most of the blame on the other person, mostly for each of their own defenses in their separate trials. But David at one point said he was threatened by Brandy that if he didn't cut Greg's throat, he was going to regret it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I personally don't buy that, as I was in class with David in middle school and saw him go berserk on my friend in the back of the classroom.
Wait, you?
David went to middle school with me.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, 6th grade, 7th grade, and maybe part of 8th grade, because I don't remember if this happened in 7th or 8th, but I know what school we were at. And I actually remember the substitute teacher we had.
Interesting.
Yes. So yeah, I saw him harm someone before. Which this is always stuck in my head, because I remember when I was getting ready to go to class at Capri after I graduated high school. I had the news on because I got like 3 channels in my room. And I was like, that person looks familiar. I hadn't heard what they were talking about yet. And then I heard them say, David Keegan and Brandy Byrd arrested for beating a pizza delivery guy to death with a hammer. And I'm like, holy shit, I know David Keegan. His hair was all bleach blonde, so that's why I didn't like recognize him at first. I'm like,
Wow.
that's fucking crazy. So yeah, that's been in my head for friggin' 20 years.
What?
Yeah,
What was the date again?
it happened in 2002.
Right, but
Well, when I saw it on the news, it was probably 8 months or so later.
Gotcha.
But David's cellmate, or one of David's cellmates, actually stated that he was disgusted by David's, quote, nonchalance when he talked about the murder. David described to his cellmate the way they ordered pizza, the way they lured him in, the way Brandy came out of the hallway closet and hit him on the head with a hammer. David also bragged to his cellmate about he was in a gang. He claimed him and Brandy were in a gang. I'm not going to say the gang name because I don't want that kind of spotlight in my life. But
please don't.
I'm just like, get the fuck real. Police did state that they didn't believe there was any actual gang involvement with these 2 dipshits, and that's my words, not theirs, that they were more likely wannabes. David did also testify that Brandy had a violent streak, and she would hit you with things sometimes if you did something she didn't like. Grossly, though, after David was arrested and being interviewed by the police, he rhetorically asked if he was going to be in big trouble and then laughed. He then told an officer, quote, "The guy was ugly anyway. I don't feel that bad about it."
What the fuck?
Yeah, like, prick, fuck you. And I thought Greg Wells is pretty cute in the picture I keep seeing in all the articles I was looking at. Shut up, David.
I mean, that should have no...
he's
no remorse.
Strictly being an asshat, yeah.
Yuck.
In December of 2002, David Keegan was convicted of first-degree murder with the automatic sentence of life without parole. But in 2012, the Supreme Court banned juveniles serving life without parole since he was 17 when it happened. So in 2016, his sentence was changed to life with a chance to parole. Most recently, though, on October 6th of 2021, David tried for parole again. It wasn't his first time, but this was the most recent. According to reports from the Iowa Department of Corrections, David has done well in prison, engaged in one-on-one counseling, volunteered for youth programs, which, what? I don't know what kind. Lives in, quote, honor housing with fewer restrictions, because that worked well the first time around.
Right.
And also works in the prison as an IT tech after receiving his associate degree in 2019.
For free.
Right. He also wants to further his education and has apparently written a book with his passion for writing. Despite all of his, quote, improvements and achievements, his request for parole was denied.
Good.
Asshole. David is currently at the Fort Dodge Correctional Facility, which is a medium security prison, but the parole board did agree to move him to a minimum security prison to give him, quote, a chance to prove himself in a less restrictive environment. Again, because that went so well the first time.
Right. And what prison did they move him to?
That, I don't know. They just...
Assuming.
It might have said it in another article, but I guess I didn't even...
I'm assuming still Iowa.
Probably, I'm sure. Part of Brandy's defense was that she had depression and heard voices as a child, and that she had a chaotic life, poor socialization skills, and chemical problems, then attributed her bad decisions to her low mental capacity. But she was not found to be psychotic or unable to form intent, which is required for diminished capacity defense. Brandy Byrd was found guilty of first-degree murder in July 2003 and sentenced to life without parole. When the judge was reading Brandy's verdict, Brandy had something to say about it. She interrupted the judge, loudly interjecting, "Guilty. You gotta be kidding me. Did you hear what I heard? I can't believe that I'm guilty. I can't believe it." Bitch, what? What? And, like, she gave interviews saying that she did it. Like, I don't know if she was trying to say that she's that dumb that she couldn't, like, I don't know. But I'm like, how the fuck are you surprised that you're guilty?
And what did the judge have to say with her rudely interrupting?
Amanda Potterfield, I believe the judge's name was. She was not thrilled about it. She, ordered her to be quiet, and her Brandy's defense was like, "Okay, you had your fun. Shut
the fuck up."
I believe she is serving at the Iowa Correctional Institute for Women in Mitchellville, Iowa. That was one of the things I knew. I read it somewhere, and then I couldn't find what article it was in, and I was getting frustrated. Now, most importantly, this brings me to talk about Greg Wells. He was born to his parents, Kip and Margie Wells, and had a brother, Paul, and a sister, Teresa, and grew up in Fort Madison, Iowa. Greg was kind and fun-loving. His family actually received hundreds of letters from people in the Marion and Cedar Rapids area saying Greg was a, quote, good guy, even from some that only knew him as someone who delivered pizza. Mm-hmm. Some also described how he was always willing to help others. He was a hard worker and worked many hours, but would always make sure to attend special occasions with his family. He was also good at fixing things, especially cars, which I think is slightly funny because his car was kind of like a shitbox, but he did make it work.
He did.
Like, I'll give him that. Like, he did make it work. Just because those two assholes didn't know how to work it after they stole it, that's not on him. He would often stop to help other people when he saw them with, car problems along the road or fix cars for his coworkers. The Reverend at Greg's funeral told of a time when Greg and his dad Kip were working on a car and something went wrong. Apparently, Kip started spewing some choice words, and Greg said, "Dad, why don't you go stand over there and cuss for a while, and I'll work on the car."
Oh.
Greg enjoyed comedians, including George Carlin, and he could actually recite some of Carlin's material, but would reportedly clean up the language a bit. And friends said Greg had a memorable, tear-inducing laugh. His brother Paul said, quote, Personally, I feel the state has the right and responsibility to trade a life for a life. Lacking that, life in prison will have to be good enough. Not that this isn't traumatic for his whole family, but Paul was actually on active duty in the fight against terrorism when he learned of his brother's senseless murder.
So sad.
You know, like, just being that far away.
And you can't do it, and you can't be there with your family. You can't. That had to have been so
a whole
difficult.
other level. Greg enjoyed his job at Pizza Hut, especially the customer interactions, and reportedly liked listening to radio talk shows while he was out for deliveries. Prior to the Pizza Hut gig, he earned his associate's degree at Southeastern Community College in Burlington, Iowa, and performed as a singer on the Emerald Lady Riverboat in Fort Madison. He had also sung in the choir as a member of the St. John United Church of Christ in Fort Madison. Greg had a longtime girlfriend of 6 years, Marcia Myers, and was a father figure to her son Matthew, who was 8 at the time of Greg's death. They met when Greg moved to Cedar Rapids and were first neighbors, and then 2 years later began dating. Marcia told of Greg's talent of singing and playing guitar and regretted that she never taped it. She also said if they'd ask, he'd have just given them money or a ride to anywhere. He was just that kind of guy. Greg's relationship with her son Matthew was a sweet one. The two flew kites together, played baseball, and read comics and books. In fact, when Marcia told Matthew of Greg's death, he replied with, "Who's going to read to me now?"
Oh, that makes me so sad.
Yeah, Marcia said, "He spoiled both of us. We'll miss him a lot." Margie, Greg's mother, is on record saying, quote, "This has taken the joy out of living. I cannot forgive them. God will have to do that." I messaged Teresa, his sister, on Facebook, and she let me know a little bit about him. Greg was a wonderful person, missed by many, that's for sure. He was the youngest in our family, ornery, stubborn, and most of all, so funny. He was sensitive too and had the biggest heart. If I went to step on a spider, he would stop me and pick it up and take it outside instead. He loved music. He had a good voice, taught himself guitar, and could play a song on the piano just by hearing it. I remember him learning Elton John's "Your Song" that way, like hearing it and being able to just play it. And she said she thought that was amazing he could do that. At the time of the trial and whatnot, his sister Teresa stated, "I'll miss that we don't get to grow old together. I always expected him to be around. My family has been irreparably broken. He should have died an old man with his loving family around him. Instead, he died alone with evil around him." Mm-hmm. And that terrible. Is the unfortunate, senseless murder of Greg Wells.
Yeah, they took he sounds like a all-around good guy.
Yeah.
What a stupid plan. I mean, who...
Right? Like...
Okay, like, the fact that their whole plan was to do this to it was going to be whoever delivered their pizza.
Right.
To their address. To the address where they live.
Yeah.
Duh.
But stealing their car, one thing, but, like, you're planning to rob him when he's literally going to have $20? Like, what? You'd had better luck going to a restaurant and robbing them and stealing someone's car. Yeah.
And you probably would have got, a
couple hundred maybe, but still.
Well, not even that. You would have got less time. Yeah. Because robbery, if it was armed robbery, probably 25 years. Mm. But don't take someone's life for $20. Yeah. Don't take it for anything.
Right. But
God.
Just it almost makes you want to think maybe they weren't quite all there mentally, but you made this plan. You made it in advance. You executed
That's premeditated.
Yeah. Unfortunate.
That's crazy that you actually went to school with one.
Yeah, it was weird. He was always a little weird. We could all be weird sometimes, but...
Oh, sure.
And
I'm weird in my own sense, but I'm not ever going to take the life of someone else.
Right. And, like, I remember, him getting teased. I can't remember specifics why. I don't know if it was because of his whole life situation. I do remember that we thought his mom was a bit off. It sounds like she was a bit off, but I mean, whatever. Yeah, it's just, the whole thing is bizarre. And I've thought about it for 20 years. I didn't know till looking into this, though, that not just, but thought they just beat him with the hammer. Like, I didn't know that they did the whole slit the throat and everything, too. And I'm like, oh, God, that's other levels of just holy shit.
So painful, because even after, like you said, the throat, it still took a few minutes. Mm-hmm. So he had to feel every hit. And you said there was 12?
Yeah, 10 to 12. There was varying reports, but basically 10 to 12. And yeah, he had like 2 to 3 skull fractures.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Well, they deserve where they are. And I hope David Keegan stays there. I hope he doesn't get parole, because he had zero remorse. I know he was only 17, but still,
No.
Well, that one hit close to home.
I know.
It was very close to home.
Yeah, I know. Passed by that Pizza Hut a fucking 1,000 times. I actually know where the apartment is, too. I looked it up on Google Maps and like, oh, yeah, I know right where those are.
Oh.
Because I was being weird. I wanted to see.
You'll have to show me.
Yeah.
But, yeah, hope you guys enjoyed Sarah's story. Again, let us know what you think by giving us a rating on Spotify, Apple, and Good Pods. Now that we should have our sound working again. And then I also did forget another one that is on the top 10 true crime indie podcast list is Bloody Pasta, which is a true crime podcast that is based out in Italy.
Yes, on Italian
that one was
murders.
A good listen.
Crimes.
They were a part of my 5-star listen that I did last week. I did a few. I apologize for this being a little bit late.
Like I said, that is my fault / my work's fault, but still it falls on me, so.
Life happens, guys.
Yeah. I know she mentioned our social medias earlier, but also don't forget, if you want to support the podcast, you can go to patreon.com/Hometown Homicide Podcast. For the low price of $1 a month, you could help support us in improving our equipment even more. Or, whatnot. There's other levels you can up to if you want, but...
And also don't forget, over on YouTube, subscribe, comment, let us know that you've subscribed, because we can't see everyone that has. Our first milestone is 100 subscribers. We will be giving away a piece of merch. So once you do subscribe, let us know so that we can add you to that giveaway. We are currently at 48. So only 52 more. So head over there, hit that subscribe, leave a comment, and we'll get you entered.
Remember, we want to tell stories to you and not about you, so stay safe.
And this was Hometown Homicide.